Welcome to the Homeschool Together podcast. Where one working mom and a stay-at-home dad help you navigate the nuts and bolts of the growing and dynamic world of homeschooling.
With a focus on early learners, like me.
All the ins and outs of building and maintaining your homeschool life.
Homeschool.
Find out tips and tricks to make things like this easier.
I'm reading.
And ultimately, enjoy educating your kids. And what's that last thing?
Have fun together. Did I do good, Daddy?
Yeah, you did, sweetie. Good job. Hello and welcome back to Homeschool Together. We have a homeschooled first year journeys, one of our favorite podcasts that we do, where we interview a homeschool mom or dad, and we hear about their first year journeys. And it's always fun for you who may be listening right now, who is a first year homeschooler or maybe thinking about homeschooling and you're wanting to see what life is like. This one's going to be a good one for you. But before you do that, head down into the show notes. I try to put all the links in there for you guys. Listen to you YouTube commenters. We see your comments. Sometimes Mr. Matt here forgets to put a link in there, and I am sorry. But I try to put all the links in there. I will do it and everything. And also there's links there for you to leave reviews. We see those lovely reviews on iTunes. Thank you for that. Also hit the subscribe button on YouTube. That would be awfully helpful for us and get into your inbox as well. YouTube is growing and is very large and a large presence. We're doing good things over there.
Yeah, we're just over 2,500 subscribers. Look at us being tiny.
Tiny and...
Yeah. But mighty, mighty.
What is it? It's 50,000 to get the first of the YouTube badges and then the 100,000 for the silver one.
Yeah, no, I mean, yeah.
We'll be there by 2087.
Yeah, right.
But anyway, so we had Anne today on the podcast. Very interesting story. 4 children.
Yeah.
Some in the public school, some homeschooled, all gifted, all neurodivergent. Some are beyond gifted.
Right, like exceptional. And so it's
gifted.
not a normal public school program. I thought this was really interesting. I think we've talked to some homeschool parents before that have had gifted children, but I don't think to kind of the level that they didn't need the level of support that Anne's kids did. Support not in the sense of that they couldn't learn without more, but that they needed to run at a faster pace.
Yeah.
And the school needed to support the pace that they needed to work at. And, you know, the challenges that her family had with that, I thought that was really interesting to hear how both, the public school and the special program was able to help one of her children and may help another one as well. But the others needed to be homeschooled, and I love how like finding the right balance, even if they're all gifted, you know, what's that look like? And it may look different by child, not just by family. I think it's really cool to see a family that has that mix going on because you don't often see that. I think it's great. You know, what works for one kid may not work for the next. Yeah. And it's not just within your own homeschool. It could be you need a different program or whatever. And I think Anne does a great job of talking through that. So yeah, without any more of my yakking, let's get over to this great interview with Anne. Welcome, Anne. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Well, we are super excited to get back to interviewing. So can you kick us off? Tell us a little bit about your family.
Sure. Well, my name is Anne. And so it's me and my husband, Brandon, and we've got 4 kids, 10, 8, 6, and 4. Had to think about that for a second.
Love those even numbers.
I know. Yeah, it's pretty nice. Our oldest is in public school, actually. She is in a special gifted program that is her standard classroom every day, which is phenomenal, and it works really great for her. And then we homeschool our 8 and 6-year-old currently. Our 4-year-old just kind of hangs out in the background and makes all the noise going on behind us. I mean, there's not a whole lot happening at our house, just kind of making sure everybody doesn't destroy the house or each other on a daily basis.
Was there a decision to have the split? I mean, obviously you have the gifted student and that's a program that was working. What was the decision making around having the other your other children be homeschooled?
So we actually have all four of them are gifted and neurodivergent.
Awesome. Okay.
And so our oldest is currently in fourth grade in the public school system. And we got incredibly lucky that the gifted program there is so amazing. A lot of gifted programs across the country will do pullouts for a student who is accelerated in math or in reading. But for the rest of the time, they are just in their classroom and engaging with whatever's happening in the classroom setting. But by the beginning of first grade, kid one she would read. She would read her own books. Like they would have a 45-minute math lesson. She would be done with the work in 5 minutes and then spend the entire rest of the time reading whatever book she was reading at the time. And that was her whole day. There was not a whole lot of engagement from her in her classroom because it was a lot of repetition, which is great for a standard student, but not for somebody who is gifted. And so we spent a lot of time in kindergarten and first grade and second grade fighting with the district, trying to get her accelerated either by subject, because sometimes districts will go, your math time is this time, so you're going to go to a grade ahead, 2 grades ahead, or whatever. Or you can sometimes you can get the district to agree to accelerate by a whole grade or 2 whole grades. Our district does not have anything in place currently for acceleration. And so it was just battle after battle. And because my kiddo is not disruptive in the classroom, she got ignored a lot because she was doing the work. She was understanding what was being assigned in the classroom. And so there was no reason for them to do anything extra. And so our school district's our school situation's a little bit odd. So we have our home district where they have a 1 day a week gifted program that is housed in the main district office. And so the kids from all of the schools in the district that are in the gifted, that have been accepted as gifted, get bused there 1 day a week for a full day, where they do a whole lot of project-based learning. They learn how to do coding. They work with robots, and it's quite an amazing program. And so first and second go on Mondays, third and fourth go Tuesdays, and so on. And then there is also it's called the Program for Exceptionally Gifted Students. And so these are kids with an IQ of 134 and higher, with a couple of other assessments that need to be done to qualify. But that program is for 3 school districts, the elementary schools of 3 school districts, to then get pulled into 1 classroom. And so there's roughly 15 elementary schools that they're pulling from for students in 2nd through 5th grade. And so that's the program she's in now. So it's not even in our home district. It's in another district, but it's with students that she can work with on the same level and in a classroom that is designed for her. So she's actually being engaged in a classroom. They're working at a much faster pace. And so it works for her. And for her, she needs that social environment. She would significantly struggle if she were at home every day. And so while academically, I don't know that it's totally pushing her ahead, socially, she is getting that engagement on a daily basis, which she really needs. Now, for kid 2 and 3, who I do homeschool, they are also gifted. They participate 1 day a week it's called Focus. And I could not tell you what the acronym stands for at this moment. And so kid 2 goes on Tuesdays. She's 3rd grade. And then kid 3 goes on Monday. She's 1st grade. And so they get to participate all day on their day, and they get to do their project-based learning in a gifted program where the staff is prepared for students whose brains think like theirs do. And then the rest of the time they're at home. And it was actually kid 2 who kind of led the charge on homeschooling. We currently live on a cul-de-sac, and kid 2 started asking, at the beginning of kindergarten, can I do homeschool? Can I do homeschool? And I think part of it was because there were 4 homeschool families on the cul-de-sac with kids ranging in age from 1 to like 13. There's like 20 kids. And so we were kind of surrounded by homeschool kids, which was really nice for me getting the jump in this. And so kid 2, the reason we brought her home and just kind of included our incoming kindergartner was social reasons. She has a lot of social anxieties and would just kind of shut down every day that she was at school. And so for her, it's not necessarily academics that brought her home or a concern for the school environment as a whole. It was really just, I didn't even know who my kid was until the end of her first year of homeschooling, because she was so far removed from just engaging in anything.
No, that's thank you for sharing that story. That's probably, I think, the first time we've had a child-led homeschooling push.
Yeah.
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 That must have been, was that unsettling for you? I mean, obviously you were in the public school scenario here with your oldest, and
Yeah.
you were struggling a little bit with that, but then
Yeah.
until you finally found the right situation, was that a big leap for you emotionally, maybe even as an educator?
For me, I'm also neurodivergent, which
Mhm.
I just found out about a couple of years ago. And so that's been a huge learning curve. And so figuring out how can I provide that education and structure while maintaining my own balance, I think that was my biggest concern. But I kind of pushed that aside because my kids' mental well-being was, it honestly needed to be our top priority. And
Mhm.
so we just kind of jumped in. And I was lucky that we had basically a whole neighborhood full of homeschool kids that we could lean on their families for, I mean, all the co-op kind of things, just
Mhm.
getting our families together and having them interacting with other people. So I was only concerned really with what do our academics look like, and not worried about, well, how do I get my kids interacting? Because I don't want that to drop off by bringing them home.
Yeah. And how did you overcome those academic challenges? I mean, did they help you find curriculum, or did they help you understand maybe whatever the requirements are for your state? Were there any hoops you had to jump through in that respect?
Missouri, so we're in Missouri,
Hmm.
and their guidelines are very simple. We have 1,000 hours that we need to keep track of. We are, I mean, we're required, but nobody checks. We're required to keep a log of what we do and how long we do it. So, like, we did a math lesson for 20 minutes. So, we have to keep a log of that. And we need to have, we're supposed to have kind of a basic schedule outline of where we're planning to go, but we don't have to use a specific curriculum. We don't have to check in with anybody. We have to send in if we don't even have to send a letter. Like, my neighbor, her kids have never been to public school. She never sent anything to anybody. So they
Wow.
don't exist as far as the public school is concerned. They don't exist anywhere.
No public declaration or any forms to fill or anything. Okay,
No, the only
interesting.
time you have to declare is if your kids were in public school. You
Mhm.
have to inform the school that you're then
Yeah,
homeschooling.
gotcha.
Yeah.
So was it a challenge? I mean, finding curriculum is difficult for any family, right? And
Yeah.
for you, you need to find curriculum that's both meets your children on the emotional level they're at, but gives them the educational challenge that they need
Yeah.
academically. How do you
Yeah.
start looking for gifted curriculum that kind of meets them where they're at in both areas?
So I think for my kids, it's it's not easy to find it for any kids or for any family, that's for sure. I think for my kids, it's a little bit easier as far as gifted goes because they're not gifted in one area. Like, a lot of times you will hear about somebody who's profoundly gifted in math, like they're doing college level math in second grade or something,
Mhm.
or they're working through high school level English composition or whatever in third grade. My kids are fairly overall gifted. And so for them, it really looks like their ability to absorb and retain information is so fast that standard procedures and practices don't apply. They don't need the repetition that a lot of kids need to understand a concept or to retain the ability to do that work. And so for me, as I'm putting together whatever we're working on, or as I'm looking for curriculum, I have to look at how quickly can I run through this curriculum without just chopping half of it off. Because a lot of curriculums, they're set up to feed into that repetition, which is phenomenal. And I'm really sad actually that I don't get to use a lot of things because I can't do that, because I can't do the repetition because I just don't need it. So like math concepts, I love math. And I would do math every day if I could do math. And a lot of math is basic repetition. You just practice the facts and the process over and over and over again. And my kids don't need that. And I feel a little bit sad because they just shoot through what they're working on so quickly. And so at least for right now, like we use Math Mammoth for math because the structure works really well for me. And I am able to, because I just instinctually understand math, that's one of my strong suits. I'm able to take that curriculum and feed any manipulatives that we need into it. Like you guys talk about using Right Start Math a lot. And after I had listened to some of your podcasts and heard about Right Start Math, I looked into it and I thought, this looks amazing.
It wouldn't work for your kids.
It's all spiral.
It wouldn't work for my kids because it's kind of slow for my kids. I think it's properly paced for 90% of the people who use it. And I love all the manipulatives, but I already had all of the manipulatives except for the abacus before we started homeschooling at all, because I just love them so much. So we use Math Mammoth, and the only other curriculum that I've bought is for language arts, because I'm not language artsy, and the whole phonics thing is just over my head. And
did you have any issues with teaching phonics to your student or your kids? That we've heard this with gifted students, that they read so fast that they're just sight reading immediately, and they sometimes maybe coming back and having to backfill some of the phonics stuff. Has that been a challenge for you, or have you seen that issue?
So we're not, let's see. Yes, we are reading, we're sight reading really well. Our oldest is really advanced. She's reading at least at a middle school level with the comprehension to match, which still blows my mind. Kid 2, a little less so, but she picks it up really quickly. And so we actually fill in her phonics instruction with spelling. And so we're using All About Spelling for that, to fill in all of those rules. And I think it works really well. She's getting the explanation, because I still think that's really important. But she's just getting it with the spelling aspect, with the encoding. Is that right?
Yeah.
Decoding is the reading, encoding is the spelling. So she's getting it with the encoding, and we're moving really quickly through it because she's just grasping it so fast, but she's still getting that instruction without having to worry about, can you read it?
No, I think it's really smart you're doing, because I've done the one level of the spelling curriculum, and I noticed it kind of duplicates what the All About Reading does. And if you're right, if you have a really advanced reader, the spelling curriculum might be just enough that you need to get the phonics working there.
Yeah, it's working really well. Kid 3 is, we're doing a phonics program that works with her speed. So we do, we got the phonics program from the Well-Trained Mind, and it's just a black and white page of text. There's no games, there's no activities or anything. I explain the rules, she reads the words. There's a little paragraph, 2 paragraphs that she's reading to really focus on that skill that are included in the program. And that's really all she needs.
Mm-hmm.
And then if there's additional practice that's needed, we just go to the library and pick up some books that she can use to practice whatever that skill needs to be.
So you're talking about ELA, you're talking about math. Do
Yeah.
you do anything else beyond that, or is it very eclectic? You kind of chasing the interest of your learners because they can, run a lot of information through fast. Do you find yourself scrambling to fill all that in, or how do you do the rest?
Mm-hmm.
The other thing.
Last year there was a lot of scrambling
Okay.
because they go so quickly. They would have an interest, and I would try to go to the library to get books to go along with it. And like 3 days later, that interest would already be gone because they've watched a couple of videos and they're like, I've already absorbed this information. I'm done. And so that was really hard to keep up with. And so over the summer, I spent a lot of time listening to podcasts and just kind of looking at what everybody else was doing, just so I could get an idea of what I could do. And I've kind of built our own thing. So we use a Charlotte Mason structure to our the learning part of our day. And what I mean by that is each subject is really given a set amount of time per day, per week. So like we do math, 20 minutes, 4 days a week. We do spelling 15 minutes, 3 days a week. And then, but there are other subjects like history that we do twice a week. We've got world religions that we do once a week, logic that we do twice a week. And so we've kind of so we all know, which has been really helpful for my kids. We all know here's our learning time from 9 to about 11:30 is our learning time for the day, so that they know here's our start time. So there's no battles of start time. They know this is the amount of time that I have for this particular subject to give my attention. Because kid 3 is ADHD and she can only last so long with providing her attention for a particular subject. And so knowing what that end is helps her brain to know, okay, this is not just going to drag on forever. And so we just go by that. I have a structure. I have laid out where the subjects need to be. Some of them are individual things where I need to work more one-on-one, and some of them are family style. It's like we do history, family style, world religion, logic, things that we do together. And that structure seems to work really well, at least for now, with the two of them. We'll see what happens when I have to throw in kid 4 in the mix, and because I have no idea what that's going to look like yet.
So let's talk a little bit about that right there. I will key in on that. You have the one in school. Does she have homework that she has to bring home and do as well?
She doesn't.
Okay, so you're
I'm
really
kind
just
of surprised.
to the two.
Just the two, yeah.
Okay. So how do you manage the third, the kind of the one on the end?
Yeah, 4's coming up quick.
4's coming up.
Yes.
She's gonna join to the party very soon, or if not already. How are you gonna handle that? What are some tips and tricks you can give to other parents who maybe have the one and there's another one coming in?
So I will preface this by saying that I've worked with kids for a really long time, in a variety of teaching capacities. Like I taught swim lessons and swim team, and I worked Boys and Girls Club for a few years. My age range is really like 5 to 10. And so looking at my 4-year-old in an educational teaching capacity is really foreign. And so we have kind of our space set up Montessori style. So I've got just some random activities that I've put together, or like he really loves number blocks. And so I hot glued some math cubes together in number block size. And so he plays with those a lot. But he is very averse to anything that has a structure. And I'm not really sure why. So like I would try to sit down in in a quiet moment with him, and he really loves math and is good at math. And we'll sit down and try to do math. And he lasts about 30 seconds before he's like, I don't want to. I'm tired. So he kind of just runs around and does his own thing at this point. I'm not at all concerned about whether or not he can do things or that he knows things. He knows he's already ready for kindergarten. He's doing math problems. He's talking in terms of addition and sometimes in terms of multiplication, just from watching number blocks. And I mean, I don't have any advice. I don't know, because it just looks like chaos with him at this point.
Well, how do you balance child 2 and 3 when you're doing homeschooling for that 2.5 hour window that you say you work in? How do you move between them, or are they very independent learners? What's your experience like there?
They are both very hands-on.
Okay.
Getting them to do anything independently has taken a lot of time. That's basically all I did this last year, was try to figure out how to balance exactly that, because they are both very much, you need to be sitting right next to me and watching me so that I can make sure that your eyeballs see what I'm working on, because they're capable, but they're very high touch learners. And so we have a homeschool space that we use. It's like our formal sitting room area. And we sit at a dining table that we've got in there, not our actual we eat at it dining table, but a second dining table. So there's enough space for all of the things to spread out. And we sit on one side of the table and I sit in the middle. And we move through our subjects so that I can just turn one side to the other to make sure that I haven't missed anything. But they have to work on their patience sometimes. They got to wait, because I can't do two things at once.
Yep.
I know that one well.
No, yeah, we have our youngest is very quick, very sharp, can do her work very fast and wants to do it fast, and
but no patience.
Not
an ounce of it.
So if I'm like, hey, do this thing, I'm going to work with your sister over here who is very sharp, very smart, but needs a little bit more touch. It's like, daddy, I want to do this. I want to do this math. Let's do my math right now. And it breaks my heart to tell her, no, sweetie, we're not doing the math that you want to do right now. I have to help your sister do this thing.
It's hard.
It's very challenging, but it's very funny how the balance is, because the children are very different.
I feel like they're plates, right? You just got to keep them both spinning.
Keep them spinning.
Yeah. So I'm not sure how I do it most days, but somehow they do.
I think it's true for everyone.
Just about the, I'm curious about the dynamic between your daughter who goes to a program all week, right? And then your other kids that are home. Because I know for ours, they would constantly be like, well, I got to do this today in school. Well, we went on this field trip today and we did this. And there would constantly be this like tension between their different experiences. How has that been for your family?
A challenge. Our oldest is very much, she's always afraid of not being involved in what's happening with anybody else, whether it's a conversation or she just hears somebody say something and she's, what are you talking about? Trying to nose her way in.
We call it big ears. We call it big ears.
Yes, definitely big ears. And so there have been a lot of times where we would go, I mean, we've got just a basic children's museum that's not too far away. So it's really up to kids like age 7 that it's really exciting for. So she's clearly outside of the age range for it. But even missing one of those days, she's like, but I didn't get to go. So there's a lot of reminders of, you are going to school and getting a lot of experiences that your siblings do not get being at home. Like you get to go to a PE class, which she loves, or they get to go on their own field trips. It's not like they'd ever go anywhere and do any fun things, or she's got fun projects that she gets to work on in the classroom. And so there's a lot of conversations about, it's different. One is not better than the other. They are just a different way of educating. And you would not be happy at home. That's the other one. You would not be happy at home. You would be very lonely. So.
Absolutely. So now you have this dynamic. You have this rising 4-year-old. What's your
Yeah.
plan going forward? Is this something you want to continue? Are you thinking about transferring, graduating another student into the to
Yeah.
the public school program? What's your thoughts here going forward?
Um, kid three, I don't anticipate, no, kid two, our 8-year-old, I do not anticipate her going back to public school.
Okay.
Um, it, she was doing the work, she was getting pushed along, but in that environment, she becomes completely mute
Mm.
and um, no engagement in any of the processes happening in a classroom. And I don't see her going back. She is able to work at her pace at home.
Mhm.
She is able to work on the projects that she wants to. Like we have them kind of choose their own science, which works for me because I have less that I have to put in work on for at least one subject. But she just did a presentation. She made a presentation on Google Slides for snowy owls that she had just dove headfirst into and was
Mhm.
really enjoying. So that was really great to see. So I don't think that she's going to go back. She is on the level of giftedness. She is on the lower end.
Mhm.
And so academically, she would be fine in a standard classroom doing her 1 day a week gifted program, but I don't think she'll go back. I think I need to just prepare myself to take her the whole way through,
The
which
full
is fine.
distance. Yeah, go the full
Yeah.
distance. Yeah.
Um, kid three is going to be different, I think. She is already showing signs of being at a more gifted level. She's at a higher level. Um, and we really kept her home simply because of logistics. Kid one is not going to our home school. She is going to a school in a different district. And
Mhm.
so balancing taking kid one to one public school, kid three to another public school, and then dealing with what time drop offs and pickups were. And we have to drive to the 1 day a week gifted program as well. All of those things all at once and trying to homeschool on top of it last year was not a thing that I was prepared for. And so we kept her home for her kindergarten year. Um, and it's worked out really well for her because she is moving a lot more quickly than I was prepared for.
Mhm.
Um, kids two and three, they're gifted kind of snuck up on us. We were not aware, like with our first. And so the speed at which she's moving through things and learning things and picking up things has been a surprise. And um, so we had her tested with the public schools to see if she was gifted because kid one and two were.
Mhm.
Um, she has already tested into the program for exceptionally gifted students that our oldest is in, but they don't start until second grade.
Mhm.
And um, they got back to school fever when our oldest was buying her school supplies, and they were like, "Can we go back to public school?" And we had to tell her no because I was not prepared to fight the school again to get her the academic structure that she needed.
Yeah.
So we are probably looking at her going, if she qualifies at the end of this year for that exceptional program,
Mhm.
she will probably go back to school because she is also a very social kid,
Okay.
and I think would do well in a classroom setting. Kid four,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, maybe you'll only have two to homeschool
Yeah.
juggle next year, so that's something to look forward to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not funny, but it's like it's you hear the same complaints. Like you're on one spectrum, you hear the same families online talking about their IEP struggles, 504
Yes.
Right,
struggles,
when their kids are having learning
and it's
challenges.
tough. It's tough to handle
Yes.
those edge cases where it doesn't meet where 90% of the students are, and it's a
Yes.
challenge and it's difficult. And I'm sorry that you went through that, but I'm glad you found something that works and maybe have an opportunity there. Now, with the
Yes.
children you have, you said you have this cul-de-sac to homeschool,
Mhm.
which we
Yeah.
call your co-op there,
Neighborhood co-op.
Yeah.
your neighborhood co-op. What is that like? Obviously you have your academics. Do you do a co-op? Do you do play dates? Do you play sports? Do you get outside at the aquatic center or whatever it is? What is your outside homeschool look like for your homeschool students?
Right now, nothing.
Okay.
Finding a secular homeschool group.
I was wondering about that. Missouri
is not an easy thing.
Mm-hmm.
We are in the greater Kansas City area. And so that opens up more opportunities. I will say I am looking more this year than I was last year. We've had 2 families move out of the cul-de-sac, and one has started going to a private school where mom is now teaching. So we have less of a homeschool co-op cul-de-sac. And so I'm looking now. There's not too far from us, there is a group of homeschool people that meet at I want to say it's a church building, but it's just a free meetup place for homeschool kids. So like a basketball court and just free play games, that kind of thing. So nothing religious based, just happens to be in a church building. We were going to go today, but that didn't work out. But that happens once a week. And so that sounds like something that's promising. There's not really a structure. And so I can just kind of pop in and out when we have time or the mental capacity to people that day. But it's also a really great opportunity for my kids to branch out and be social with people they're not already comfortable with. We haven't really looked at sports yet because they're not totally sporty. Not really sporty.
Sports ball's not for everyone.
No.
Well, it's hard to juggle too. I mean, we have 2 and we're running constantly, and they're only in like one sport. It's not like they were doing all kinds of crazy things, but they also dance. So they're in like, but it's still a lot to juggle the 2. And with 4, I can't imagine, you're only one person. How do you get everybody where they would need to go? Right?
Yeah, exactly. That's the thing too, is that even if I wanted to combine kids into activities, they're already most of the time split into 2 groups, because I've got the groups that are age 5 to 7 or 4 to 7, and then groups 8 to 12 sometimes, or sometimes there's 3 groups. So my oldest would be in one, my second would be in one, my third would be in one, and my fourth wouldn't be able to participate because they wouldn't be allowed to. And so like we're looking into a lot of different things now, but we're finding a lot of struggle there, because everything's in the evening to accommodate for the public school schedule, which is fine. But we don't get home till 4. My oldest we get home from picking her up at 4:00. And then like I've got 3 hours between pickup and bedtime for the youngest to try to fit in all of the potential activities. And I'm like, where's the time? Where do I put them? What do I do? And so,
and it's like impossible to sign up for multiple too, because they don't, none of the schedules are provided, because it's all volunteer coaching for sports. And that's why Matt coaches both of our girls' teams, because we can just put them back to back practices. Otherwise in fact, they double booked our game tomorrow for both girls to play at the same time in 2 cities 30 miles apart. We're like, that's not going to work. So we did get it fixed, but it's like, if he wasn't coaching both teams, that would not have gotten fixed. We would have just been going separate directions. So
yes, exactly.
And someone would have had to miss a game. And so.
So right now I'm looking more into the unstructured things, just as because last year was really just, what is homeschool? What am I doing? This year is, okay, homeschool, great. What about activities? Gotcha. And so we're just looking more at the unstructured pop-in park hangout type things rather than sports or structured classes.
Well, so you're layering, right? So you got your first year done, and now you're in the next year, like, okay, we're ready to level up a little bit. So how do you feel coming off of your first year? Like I'm really curious always to hear, what did you think before you started homeschooling, and how did you feel coming out of your first year? Were there some big surprises, some preconceived notions that changed? I mean, I feel like it is humbling for us all when we start, because it's like, wow, I thought this was going to be
a cakewalk,
different, easier. I don't know what. More Pinterest. I'm not sure.
Yes. So growing up, I did swim team over the summer, and there were a couple of homeschooled families. And so it was not a foreign concept, but it was not one I was planning for. I come from a public teacher family. Like my great grandmother was a teacher, my grandmother and her husband, like my grandparents taught in my elementary school. Like he was my principal for a couple of years before he retired. My mother is a teacher. My sister is a teacher. And so I always anticipated public school being our path. My experience was fine. I mean, it was public school, was not stellar, was not horrible. And then, my kid came home and said, "Can I homeschool?" And I said, "But I don't know about that." But I will say having all of the homeschool families on the cul-de-sac where I could just be like, okay, what do you do? How do you make this work? Because all the kids were roughly the same age. And so I was kind of able to gauge, okay, what does your day look like? How long are you doing school things? Are you schooling all day long? Are you doing 30 minutes because your kid is 7? What does it look like? And so I felt good going in. I was like, I'm sort of ready. That first week was not pretty. We were all just kind of scrambling. I didn't know, like, I thought I had a plan. We didn't have a plan. How do I manage 3 at home? And the little one is just kind of hovering. Like that first half of the year was not smooth sailing by any stretch of the imagination. And I think part of it was probably we didn't buy curriculum to start with. I was just kind of pulling what I could because we couldn't, that was not something we were prepared to spend money on. One, because it can be expensive. We're all aware that all of the pretty happy things cost a pretty penny. But the other part was I don't know what I like. I don't know what'll work for my kids. And so I didn't want to spend money on something and 2 weeks in think, I really don't like the structure of this. Yeah. Or my kid has no idea what's happening 3 weeks in because of the structure of this other thing. And so last year was definitely a hard transition to the homeschool process. Like I was kind of prepared. I had worked the year before I had my oldest. I was a special education teacher in an elementary school. And so I kind of floated through classrooms, but I was able to see what was happening in the classroom setting directly through my work. And so I thought, I have a rough handle on what first grade, second grade look like. I can do this. No, not totally prepared. But we bought Math Mammoth, and that has been phenomenal. So at least that one part was fine. And we kind of threw some science things on top. Like, what do you want to do? Okay, we'll do science. But it's really just kind of settled in after this summer. I did a lot of planning, a lot of time on my computer, researching different things, a lot of setting up a schedule, and then a week later thinking, oh, let's tweak that. Maybe not that bit. Do I like Google to organize myself? What am I keeping track of everything in? It's been a process.
Oh, absolutely. Now you've evolved. You obviously were a special ed teacher. You've now become a homeschool teacher. You said your husband works from home as well. Is he involved in the homeschooling in some pieces with your children?
No, not really. I mean, he'll ask them questions like, what did you do today? What did you work on? And so he's involved in that way. Lots of just curiosity. Or yesterday, kid 3 was working on her science project. She was making a presentation for root systems, and each piece that she would put together, she would immediately run upstairs and show Dad, look at this thing that I'm working on. And so he gets involved in that way. They get to share their excitement and what they're learning at any moment of the day, because he doesn't do a lot of meetings on his computer. And so he has a lot of free time where they can just kind of pop in and say, this is what I'm working on, or I just learned this really cool thing. And so I think right now that works for him. I'm actually waiting for them to get a little older and putting him in charge of history. He's a big history buff, and I don't remember anything from school for history. And so he will be leaned on a lot once the history part comes around.
I love being able to, lean into each other's strengths. That's kind of a fun piece.
Yeah.
So, homeschooling at home and then having one away, like what are the things that you've got that are your like lifesavers? Matt's got a bin. He's a bin obsession with the bins. It's like he lives his life with
Things
bins.
go into the bins. I can grab the bins. I can move the bins.
Right.
I can put things in bins. It's
so great. I'm sure, trying to organize everything and make sure you keep like your daughter's school stuff where that needs to be so she can go to school with it and your homeschool stuff over here. But like, what are the tools that have been most helpful for you?
If I had nothing else, the thing I couldn't live without is a kitchen timer.
It's a good one.
We use it for everything. Our kids get turns on a TV. They have to set a timer for 30 minutes, and then I am not in charge of saying when that time is done.
It was the timer's fault.
Yes, it's the timer's fault. And even if I'm the one to set it, it's still the timer's fault. But for school, we use it for lesson times.
Oh, cool.
And it helps my kiddos who struggle with the concept of the movement of time. As a neurodivergent human being, that movement of time just doesn't seem to exist. So a project that we think will take us 5 minutes turns into 3 hours, or something that's really tedious. And we look at it and think, oh, that's going to take me 45 minutes to do, will take us about 3. And so being able to set a timer so that they know when this timer is done, spelling time is done, which is not a favorite, or history is done. That's not a favorite either. So they know, okay, my attention is only for this long, and then I can move on to a subject that I like math. And so it helps to keep our day moving, one, because we don't all get stuck in a specific subject and all of our things get done. But it helps them to know that I only have to do spelling for 15 minutes, and that's all the attention I have to put on this thing that I don't enjoy doing.
We have a couple of kids that would, one specifically that would just bleed away the minutes. She'd be like, "Ooh, there's 14 left. I'm going to work as slow as possible." So does that ever happen, or your kids are pretty good about staying on task?
No, they actually do a really good job staying on task. A lot of kids do fine without a rigid structure. They do find kind of flowing in and out of their work or doing like a loop schedule. Like today I'm going to do history. The next day, oh, I didn't finish my history, so I'll go back. My kids need to know exactly what our structure is going to look like each day, because they'll just spend all day saying, okay, what's next? What's next? What's next? And so having that more rigid structure for our learning time means that they know, okay, here's my focus time. I'm just going to do the work. And I don't expect them to get a certain amount of work done in that time. Like math is the easiest one, I think. Math Mammoth has the chapters and then the kind of lessons within the chapter. I just give them the printouts from the chapter, like the whole, like half a chapter or the whole chapter, depending on how big it is. And we set our timer, and that could be one problem. Because word problems can be a struggle for kid too. So that 20 minutes could be one single word problem, or it could be 3 sections of the chapter. It just depends on the day and what they're working on. And so I think for them, knowing the structure of time is more important than the amount of work to get done in that time. I think that gives them a little bit more freedom of, well, this thing is hard today. I don't have to work as quickly. Like there's no push to finish one specific lesson on that day.
That's very interesting.
No, I love that. Now you have a year in your bag. There's probably some homeschool parent dialed this up. It's 3 years in the future. AI's everywhere. Aliens are here, and they're starting to homeschool. And they listen to your episode. What type of advice could you give to those parents?
Especially parents that have gifted students.
Yes.
My advice is probably pretty simple, but it would just be to pick one thing and start. Pick one subject that your kid is interested in so that you get that initial buy-in and interest. Pick one subject to start with a curriculum, because there's so many things out there, even for a secular homeschooler. There are just so many options. What direction do you go? And so I would just say pick one thing to start. There's time to pick more. There's time to add more on. Just starting in one spot is going to be the easiest way to get into it. So then you are not overwhelmed and they are not overwhelmed with this new process that you're starting.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's a big world out there. You know, there's a lot to choose from, and you know, I think it's got to be even harder for the religious homeschoolers, right? Because they have so much.
So many.
I mean, I feel overwhelmed by our options sometimes, and they're a fraction of what religious homeschoolers have to choose from. So, I can't imagine how they go through and choose things.
No.
Right.
You know, so I think that's really good advice. We've talked to lots of parents who are just getting started, and we're like,
start slow.
You know, just take something. Just start anywhere. Anywhere is an okay place to start.
Yeah, that was my thing. Just that you can plan and prepare, and you can start and still have no idea what's happening. So you just have to start, and then you can start figuring out how do you prune away the things that don't work, so that you get the things that do.
Awesome.
That's great advice.
Well, Anne, thank you so much for being on the podcast.
Yeah, thank you.
Appreciate all your insights. It was such a great story you shared there, and I hope you have a lot of success going forward.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for joining us today and making us a part of your homeschool journey. Please engage with us on social media. Join our Homeschool Together podcast group on Facebook and find us at Homeschool Together Podcast on Instagram. We'd love to hear your feedback, questions, and recommendations. Until next time.
Happy homeschooling!